Thank you for joining me today for a class on pixel art in Procreate. We're going to be making some low-res, 8-bit style artwork, and I think you are going to love how fun and easy it is to make pixel art in Procreate. Before I jump into my intro, I just wanted to say that you can download the brush set that I'll be using today for free from my website, bardotbrush.com. Actually, the specific link, you can find it really fast, is bardotbrush.com/free. So if you go ahead and start downloading that now, you'll be ready to go once we get into the actual tutorial part. So let's go ahead and get started with an intro. Oh, that was a slide I meant to have up for that. So we're going to be doing a pixel art class, and it's going to be really, really fun. And that's where you can get all the brushes. So I am Lisa Bardot. I am an artist, illustrator, teacher, an all-around creative person. I am a mom to 2 kids and one on the way who's due to arrive in about 6, almost 5 weeks now. My business is Bardot Brush, where I make a bunch of awesome Procreate brushes, tutorials, and other resources to help out both learning and established artists. I also run the Making Art Everyday Challenge, and this consists of daily drawing prompts, motivation, tutorials, and a really supportive community, all with the goal of helping you overcome your creative fears and establish a daily art making practice. Making Art Every Day is actually where this class comes in. The theme this month is weather plus art styles. So we're drawing different elements of weather while exploring a variety of art styles inspired by art movements, different techniques, different art mediums, and more. I actually wrote a really handy article, which I'll pull up right now for you guys to see, called, it's an article on 30 different art styles to inspire you in your art making. Each style has some information and characteristics to look for. So we've got this cool table of contents that lets you jump down to the different art styles. But it's got some information about the characteristics of that art style, a Pinterest board filled with more inspirational images that use that style, and then also a section about how to apply that style in Procreate. So this is really handy to check out anytime you want to have a little bit of inspiration and bring maybe something different into your work. And one of those styles is pixel art, which is what I'm going to be teaching you. Oh, there's the article. You can find it at bardotbrush.com/tutorials. It's one of the first ones there. And pixel arts is one of those styles, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you guys about today. So again, if you're just joining us, you can get the pixel art brushes for free at bardotbrush.com, and I'm going to be showing you that right now. So go ahead and follow along, download the brushes so you can follow along with the whole class. So I'm going to go into Safari, and you can find them on the home page. Hopefully our site's not being slow. Maybe it is. That's okay.
A little slow.
I think there's a lot of you there right now.
There is so many of you on there right now.
So if you go to bardotbrush.com/free, you'll find it. Hopefully you have, it's working well enough for you to download them. There it goes. You can find it on the home page there, or if you go to bardotbrush.com/free, you can find it there. And you just put it in your cart, or you just tap download and you can download it. And then when you're all done, it'll take you to this purchase confirmation screen where you can download the brushes, and they show up like this. So this is what you get anytime you buy brushes from me or download the free ones. And you have access to these anytime you log into your account. So to install the brushes is really easy. All you do is just tap on, this says Bardot Pixel Art Brush Set, and then it's going to download. I think it's going to be slower than when I was practicing this last night because you guys are all on the site right now.
And by all of you, I mean, we've never had this many people on our website before. We already beefed it up, and we've got to upgrade it again because of all of you. So thank you for carrying.
I'm just so excited. So many people are excited about this. So when you tap that, it'll say download, and you just tap download, and then it will appear here. So there's a little arrow icon with a circle around it, and it'll appear there. And you just tap that, and that will import into Procreate, or it will go into your downloads folder like this, and it should pop up by the Files app. And then you just tap that, and it will import into Procreate. It's really straightforward. It's just kind of, if you miss that little icon, it's hard to find it. And the other thing, if I can get back to Safari, that you'll want to do is download these canvases. It includes 3 canvases, so at different sizes. So you just tap each one of those. It'll go through the same process where it'll say download. And then it'll go to that little arrow icon up there. I'm going to get my Apple Pencil so I can point at things better. It's being a little slow right now. So this is going to give you guys a chance to download this stuff too. Thanks for bearing with me while everything's running just a little bit slow.
You mean like all of you crash our server on us again?
There we go. And then you tap download and then it goes here. And so we'll want to download all 3 of these canvases. So just bear with me a minute while we get going. I promise normally it's much faster. These are actually very, very small files because they are so low resolution. There's not a lot of data to them. So usually it's really, really fast, but right now we've got you all with us. So it's taking just a minute and I want to make sure that I've got them there. So are there any questions while I'm doing that right now? Thank you guys again for bearing with me.
Someone's just saying, Megan over on YouTube is like, I've been messing around with these yesterday and they are so fun.
Aren't they? I'm so glad to hear you say that because I honestly hadn't done pixel art before a week ago, maybe a week or two ago, whenever I started working on this, probably 2 weeks ago. And as soon as I did it, I'm like, oh, we need to share this with the world because it is super fun. All right, there's another one, download. And now it's there. I'm going to do last.
I wanted to make sure that we're going through this again. So I was just asking if we could do this again. So.
Yeah, so doing the download thing?
Yeah,
I'm downloading right now. I'm downloading all 3 of the pixel canvases. I already downloaded the brush set. Once you tap it, a little thing will pop up saying, do you want to download it? And then it will download pretty fast after that. And it will appear here in this little arrow icon with a circle around it over on the right-hand side. And then it'll appear there. So I'm just going through and getting the 3 canvases right now. There's also a user guide PDF that I included, which is really, really helpful. It's about 13 pages long. And it goes over a lot of what we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to go over even more stuff today because there's some other tips and tricks that I'll get to show you. But that is really handy just to get you going, making pixel art. And it covers kind of some of the important things to note, to like pay attention to when you're working this way. I can probably take one more question. This is the last one. It's almost done.
I'm just checking Instagram.
My internet is too slow. Just tell us a life story. You're
Someone
cute.
was saying, hey, I can't watch right now. It's 11 o'clock in India. And that's okay that you can't watch right now. Well, this will always be on YouTube to watch later. So if you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you want to watch, but you can't, that's okay.
Yeah, if you can't stay for the whole thing, no worries. This will be permanently living on our YouTube channel under our live videos playlist. So Bardot Brush is the name of the YouTube channel. It's really easy to find.
Oh, do you want to announce the other stuff that we're doing for today?
You're right. Well, I have them all downloaded now. So we're good to go there, but I will skip over to something I missed. Which is we're going to be doing a giveaway today. We've done a giveaway in a couple of these past classes that we've done, so we're going to be doing that again today. I'm going to be giving away a couple of these cool Apple Pencil decals that you guys see. These are from dbrand.com, and it's just like a fun sticker decal that you can put on your Apple Pencil to make it look like a number 2 pencil and give it a little color. I'm going to be giving away a couple of my brush sets. And then I'm also going to be giving away 2 of my master bundles, which contain all my brush sets. So if you want to enter for that, just text Pixel to 55444. And if you're outside the US, there's a number down here that you can try, which is +1 202 410 4202. And if it's not working, try 00 instead of the +1. I can't guarantee that this is going to work in all regions. I'm sorry. We do the best that we can to make sure we include as many people as possible, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work everywhere. So again, text Pixel to 55444 if you want to be entered into the giveaway. We'll do a live drawing at the end of the class. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go back now to the tutorial. Sorry. Okay, so here we are. Finally, once we get these all three downloaded, we have the 3 pixel canvases, but I wanna go into my Files app. I don't really wanna open them from there, and I'll show you why in a second. You can tap one of these and it'll open straight into Procreate, but I wanna keep them for future use. So I'm gonna go into the Files app, which is this little folder icon. And I'm in my Downloads folder, which is usually under Favorites. And then you can see I have the 3 canvases that I downloaded. Now, for future use, I want to store them on my iPad in a folder, kind of like you would store things in a folder on your computer. So I'm just going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it Pixel Art Canvases. So Pixel Art Canvases. And then I'm just going to drag those into, if it lets me, maybe I'll select them all. I'll hit select here, select those 3. That one's not liking me very much. All right, hold on. Bear with me. I don't know why they're not. I'm going to restart this app. It's being a little weird. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Our dog's in here with us, apparently. We usually try to keep him out, but other dogs walk by and then he barks. So that's Charlie, guys. He's a cute little white fluffy dog. Okay, so now I was able to drag those 3 files into this Pixel Art Canvases folder. And then I'm gonna drag this folder into where it says on my iPad here. And now they have a permanent home in this on my iPad tab. And I can access them at any time here for kind of quick and easy access. So to open one of them, you just tap it. So I'm tapping on the 30 by 30 pixel canvas. And that will import into Procreate, and usually it opens up. And that's my canvas, and it's already prepared, ready to go for me to start making pixel art. But I did want to show you guys how you can create your own canvases, because it's not terribly hard. Having these ready to go just kind of saves you an extra step. So let me walk you through how to create your own pixel art canvases that are set up and ready to go for you. My plant is kind of in my way. So we're gonna go to the plus icon, and I just want to check in, make sure everybody's following along. We haven't lost any of you guys yet. Any questions? Are we good to keep going?
People are asking, how do we know that you entered the giveaway? You will be required to enter your email address. Your email address is what we use to randomly draw all of our winners. So it is completely random. You must have your email address entered to win.
You'll get a confirmation too. So you'll get a little text saying, hey, do you want to sign up for, basically you're signing up for our email newsletter, which is a really great newsletter to be a part of, if I do say so myself. I send out a lot of really cool resources and stuff about making art every day. And you'll get a confirmation in that text saying thank you or something like that. So.
And then, real quick, can you just show us how to get from files in again? Are you going to show us that in a second?
How to get from files.
How to, if we downloaded it, how do we go from the files folder?
So it'll go into your downloads folder here, and then I just put them into a folder, which I then moved into my on my iPad section. And feel free to go back and rewatch. Right now I'm going to teach you how to make your own canvas, so you can do that too. And you just to import one into Procreate, you just tap on it and it'll automatically import. Okay, so to create your own canvases for pixel art, we're going to go to the little plus, and then we're going to create a new canvas template by hitting this little rectangle with the plus sign on it. And this will bring us to the custom canvas section. And so you want to create a canvas that is somewhere between like 30 to 100 pixels wide. You can go bigger than that, but the bigger you go with your canvas, the less you'll lose kind of that pixelated look, and it'll start looking more like high-res art, which is not what we want to go for in this case. So I'm just going to make one that's 30 by 30 just because we're going to use that first. So I'm going to type in 30 here. We want to make sure it's set to pixels. That's important. And 30 there. And then we'll call it, this is what I've been calling it. I would call it whatever resolution it is. So 30 by 30 pixel art, something like that. And then you can hit create. And then the only other thing you need to do to get it set up is to turn on the drawing guides. So we go to the actions menu here, which is the little wrench, and then we go to drawing guide under canvas. So actions menu, which is the wrench, canvas, drawing guide, and toggle that on. And a grid will appear on your canvas. But it's not quite set up yet for pixel art because the scale is a little bit off. So we're gonna go to edit drawing guide. And then all you need to do is basically just turn down this slider that says grid size. So if it's not, it should be set to 2D grid. If it's not, that's what it should be set to. And then we just turn the grid size all the way down, and that'll make sure that each square correlates to a pixel, okay? So it'll be ready for pixel. So if you wanna create your own sizes of canvas templates, if you use these a lot, so you just want them in Procreate, that's how you can do it. You just have to turn on the drawing guide and do that adjustment. And then I also sometimes like to turn down the thickness slider because these lines can be really distracting when you're drawing. So you can turn them down until they're the amount of visible that you want. And then hit done. And then you're ready to go. So we're gonna start with a 30 by 30 canvas. If you didn't make your own just now, you can find them in the downloads, 30 by 30 pixel canvas. And again, you just tap it and it'll import into your gallery. So there it is. Now I have 3. So I'm gonna open that up. So this one's just set up all ready to go, just like what I showed you guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna teach you guys about the brushes. Do we have any questions before I continue? People following along, questions about what I'm doing here?
We're doing great.
Okay.
Oh, someone was just asking what's the difference between all the canvases you share?
I will show you. We're getting there. Okay, so I'm gonna go over to my brushes now, and now I have it twice because I imported twice, but Bardot Pixel Art with a little sun before it. That's the set you're looking for. And it comes with 4 different brushes, and the first one is called Pixel Painter. And this just allows you to draw like normal, but it's pixelated. So that's what I'll show you right now. What I'm gonna be drawing is like a cute little mushroom. So I'm gonna start with a nice red color. And then I'm going to just draw just like I was painting in, regular Procreate, only this time it looks pixelated. And I can fill it in with color drop as well, just like that. So again, I'm just dragging that into the shape and letting go, and I can fill my shapes in that way. And then I can refine it by using the eraser. Like here, it kind of got a little too squarish. So if I tap and hold the eraser, that will automatically select whatever brush I had been using as my paintbrush as the eraser. So I have the Pixel Painter set as my eraser now. And I did also want to mention that there's this slider there. We want to have the slider for the most part all the way down, and that'll make it so, here, let me get my brush, sorry. That'll make it so it's like a 1 pixel size brush. If you make it bigger, of course, it'll just be bigger. So that's how the slider works. I usually keep it down. So now I'm gonna kind of use my eraser to just refine it, and you can do it like the thing with pixel art is like you're kind of making something with 1 pixel at a time. So you can even like tap into these and decide, the shape that you want it. Maybe I want this a little bit bigger. Maybe that's a little too much. So there's like kind of my mushroom shape. And now you can also use all of your normal Procreate tools like layers and alpha lock and clipping mask and all that stuff, which we'll be doing. So I'm gonna create a new layer. So I'm going up to my layers, which is little 2 squares here, tapping plus to create a new layer. And I'm gonna put that layer under the red mushroom cap. And then I'm going to get kind of like a tannish, maybe like tan brown kind of color. So that's the color that I'm choosing. It's kind of over here in the orange, a little bit tan. And then I'm gonna draw the bottom part. And again, I'm just kind of drawing it like I normally would, and then kind of refining it as I wish, as I want it to be. So you can get that if you want it to be more symmetrical, you could do that. If you like it to be a little off, you can do that too. So, and now that I've laid this all down, it's not centered, which bothers me a little bit. So I'm gonna show you guys how you can move your art around using the transform tool, because there is a special thing that you have to do. So to move things around, first of all, I'm gonna select my 2 layers. So I have this one selected, and then I just swipe to the right so they're both selected. And then I tap the arrow to go to transform. And this is the important thing you'll wanna change before you start moving them around. Right here, it's almost the second one to the end. You tap on that, and this is the interpolation, I hope I'm saying it right, interpolation mode. And each of these modes affect the way that pixels behave when you move stuff around on your canvas. For our purposes, we want it set to nearest neighbor. If you're in your normal Procreate work, this might make your work look a little jagged when you move it around, like when you're working in high resolution. Bilinear is, bicubic is the softest kind of, I don't want to get too much into like the technicals of that. Bicubic is the softest one, and bilinear is like kind of in the middle. You can learn more about this by going to Procreate's handbook. If you go to their support website, like the actual Procreate website, go to support and look up interpolation. You'll get some info about if you want to like learn the technicals. But for our purposes, we're going to be using nearest neighbor. If you want to go back to like, default or normal, I would choose probably bilinear. So set that to nearest neighbor, and then we can move things around and it will snap to the pixel edges, and it's not going to distort the edges or make them softer or anything like that. So that's an important tip. Okay, so I'm going to add some any questions. I know that was a lot of technicals, so if you have any questions, let me know. I think we're okay. Ready to keep going? Yeah?
Someone's just saying they're unable to reset their password. Reset password is going to be having a couple issues right now with the server upgrade. And all of you guys basically crashing our site. So reset password will not be working right now. I apologize, you guys. So we'll take a little bit for all of that to be up and running.
Thanks for your patience. If you aren't able to get the brushes right now for some reason, watch along. You'll learn a lot, and then maybe come back and watch it later once you get the brushes. But it will be permanently available on YouTube to watch. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with this. I want to add some white like little dots to my mushroom. But first I'm gonna change my background color. So I'm just gonna go to my layers menu and tap on background color and choose like a nice, like a dark green. There we go. That way I can see the white dots a little bit better. And then I'm gonna go to the layer with the red mushroom cap, and I'm gonna turn on alpha lock. So you can use alpha lock in all your normal Procreate tools when you're making pixel art too. So to turn on alpha lock, I swipe to the right with 2 fingers. You can also tap it and choose alpha lock here. So as long as that's selected, it's on. And then I'm gonna choose white, and I'm just gonna add like some little circle shapes to my mushroom. And I forgot, hold on. There, oops, I didn't mean to erase it. All right, so add a couple of circle shapes. As circular as you can make pixel art, which is kind of like this. Can be a little more regular too. Make it however you want it to look. And then the other thing I want to add is maybe like a little shadow to the bottom and maybe like a shadow here. So I still have it on alpha lock. I'm just gonna select this same color. So I'm holding down with 1 finger to select the red. And then I'm just gonna get like a darker version of that. And I'm just gonna add like a little shadow detail. It's super it's super, I don't know, I can't think of a good adjective, but it's not very detailed. So all you need is just like a little bit, and it kind of like makes it look really awesome. Maybe I'll get some better adjectives to describe that, but it's really fun. And now I'm gonna do something similar to the stem. So I'm gonna tap on that layer with the stem. I'm gonna swipe to the right with 2 fingers to turn on alpha lock so that I'm only drawing on the shape I've already drawn. That's what alpha lock is for. Selecting that layer, or that color, the brown, and then just getting like a darker, more saturated version of it. And then I'm just gonna add maybe something like that. So it doesn't take a lot to make it look like 3D shaded, especially when you're working in this low of resolution. So this is the 30 by 30 pixel canvas. And so this is gonna be like very, very low resolution. It's really gonna have that like 8-bit, like the first Mario, not Super Mario, but like the first Mario. What's that one called? Super Mario Land? I don't know. Jeff would know. Just Super Mario, I think. That era. So there, I'm done. And I could add more to this, but when you're working this small, there's only so much detail that you can add. So that's why next I'm going to show you guys kind of a similar drawing, but using the 100 pixel canvas. So,
and it's Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers, yes.
Which is the successor to the 1983 arcade game Mario Brothers.
Oh, okay. I just remember the one with the handheld at home. I used to play at my cousin's house, so. Okay, so let's go to the gallery. And now we need to get our 100 by 100 pixel canvas. So I'm just gonna go back to my Files app. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention, which is if you make custom canvases, you can re-access them again by going into here and opening them up, but then you still have to set up the drawing guide and everything like that. So I would say after you set up your custom canvas, I'm going backwards a little bit, sorry guys. I would give it a name. We'll just pretend this one was a 50 by 50, so it's called something different. So if I wanted a 50 by 50 canvas, this was the one I made and I showed you guys how to turn on the drawing guides. 50 by 50 pixel art canvas. Okay.
And I love it for the younger generation, very Minecraft-esque.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Yes, this is very Minecraft-esque.
Yes, like that low-res 8-bit look.
Yes.
So if I want to save this as like an easy-to-access pixel art canvas that's always ready to go, I just swipe to the left on it and then hit share, and then share that as a Procreate file. So that's very important. Share it as a Procreate file. And then I can choose Save to Files. And then I have a lot of stuff. Not my iCloud Drive. On my iPad. And then I have that Pixel Art Canvases folder, and I just hit Save. So if you've set up your own canvases at your custom size that you want, and they've got the drawing grids all set up, before you start working on that, like adding art to them, share them to your folder that you put in on your Files app. And now there it is. So if I wanted to open that, I just need to tap it. Whenever I'm ready to start working, I just tap it. It's all set up, ready to go with the grid and everything like that. But now we're gonna go on to the 100 by 100 pixel canvas. So this is the bigger one. So I'm gonna tap that. It will import into Procreate, open up, and you can see the grid is much smaller because this is 100 pixels across instead of just 30. And so we're gonna be able to work with a little bit more definition and detail than we did with that little tiny one. So I'm going to draw the same thing, but it's gonna be more detailed this time. So I've still got my Pixel Painter brush selected. So this is again from the Bardot Pixel Art set. It's free to download from my website, bardotbrush.com/free. I think there's a link in the YouTube description. So if you're just joining in, that's where you can get that. It's totally free.
Link's also in Facebook as well.
Awesome.
And sorry, Instagram.
We can't add links. But there is a link in my bio, but then you need to just go on your computer and do it, or on your iPad, I mean, not computer. Okay, so I'm using the Pixel Painter brush just like I was before. I have the brush size turned all the way down, and that's gonna give me a 1 pixel width. And I'm just gonna draw my little mushroom shape like that. And since it's a closed shape, I can fill it in with color drop, where I just drag and drop it in and kind of fill that in. And then I can kind of refine these sides if I want them to be a little whiter, a little more, I don't know, mushroomy shaped, I guess. And there, I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna add my little mushroom stem. So I'm adding a new layer now, and I'm moving that layer below the mushroom cap. And then I'm going to select kind of that lighter brown color, a little tan, and then drawing a little mushroom stem shape. And I'm gonna make sure that's a closed shape, and then I can color drop, fill it in. And then just kind of refine the edges a little bit. Maybe I'll make it a little wider. There we go. Cool. And then I'm gonna use my eraser. I think this is a little too wide here. So I'm using my eraser to just kind of refine and get the pixels exactly where I want them to be. There. And now I'm gonna, let's change the background color like we did before. So I'm going to layers, I'm going to background color, kind of choosing like a dark green like that. So again, that color, oops, the background color was this green, kind of like a nice dark green. And now I'm gonna add all my little dots on the red mushroom cap. So I'm gonna turn on alpha lock. So I just swipe to the right with 2 fingers. Again, you can also tap it and choose alpha lock. And then I'm gonna grab white. If you notice, I'm double tapping near white and it snaps over to white. So that's a little handy tip. And now I'm just gonna draw some circles just like before, but this time I just have more pixels to work with and it's more detailed. So I can maybe add more of those little dots if I want to. And then now I'm gonna add some shading, and I'm gonna do it in a different way than I did before. I'm gonna show you guys how I use the soft pixel shader. So let's just go ahead and select that. So it's gonna be the soft pixel shader, again, from the Bardot pixel art set, which you can get for free off my website. And then I'm gonna create a layer right above the mushroom cap. So now we have 3 layers, the stem, the cap, and then this new layer we just created. And I'm gonna set this layer to be a clipping mask. So I'm gonna tap on it and then tap clipping mask. And that will make it so that everything I draw on this layer will be confined to the shape of the layer below it, which happens to be the mushroom cap. And I'm doing this, I'm gonna add a shadow to the whole edge of this. So when I do shadows, I often use the multiply blend mode. So if you tap N and you go to multiply, this basically makes your layer transparent and it darkens wherever colors overlap. So this will make a little bit more sense when I start adding color. And then I'm gonna choose like a light gray. So maybe like right about there. Oops, and it doesn't really matter the hue. So like a light gray. Okay, and now I'm ready to start adding my shading. So this brush, again, is the soft pixel shader. It is pressure sensitive for opacity. So the lighter you touch, the more opaque it's gonna be and the softer the shadow is gonna look. So if I go really, really light on this one edge, and then like over here, I start getting a little darker. It's a little hard to see, but so over here, it's a little bit lighter, and then over here, it's a little darker, and you can kind of blend those together as much as you can. And then what I often do for shadows is grab an even darker color, like a darker gray, and do like it again on the edge. So I kind of get more of like a gradient shadow, maybe a little bit darker. You could do that as much as you want. So now we have kind of like a nice soft shadow, and that's what the soft shading brush is for. This soft pixel shader brush is for, to get like a nice soft shadow. So I'm gonna do the same on the stem. And the reason why I used multiply instead of just, because on here I don't need to do that, and I'll tell you why, is because I'm darkening like both. Here, I'll show you this first and then I'll explain because it will make more sense. So for the stem, I'm just gonna turn on alpha lock. So I'm turning on alpha lock. I'm gonna select the same color. So this is just another way to add shadows. Because this is like a single color, it's a little bit easier for me to do it this way. So I'm just gonna get like a little bit darker of a brown than that. And I'm still on that same soft shader brush. Maybe I'll go like that. Maybe a little bit of softness right here to blend it. Then I can go even darker. Maybe right underneath and kind of like along the bottom, a little bit darker. So these are 2 ways to add like a shadow to something. And the reason why I did it this way for this is because this stem shape is a solid color. So I can easily just add in darker versions of that color. But here, I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't just grab a darker red and it would mess up the white spot. So if I use like gray set to multiply, I'm darkening both things in a similar way at the same time. I hope that makes sense. I do want to do a tutorial on blend modes and like that, but there you go. That's kind of why I did it that way.
Someone was asking, can I merge clipping mask to all the layers?
You can merge, which actually when we get to the next part, I'll show you how to do multiple clipping masks, but it won't clip to only the one that's right below it. So it wouldn't do it to this one too. So, but you can do multiple clipping masks to one source, which would be this mushroom. And so now I'm also going to add like a little bit of actually one thing I wanted to add to this, which I couldn't add before because it was too low resolution, is like a cute little butterfly on the mushroom. So I'm going to add a layer above everything else. So it's above all my other layers. And then I'm going to do like, maybe like a yellow. And wrong brush. I'm going to go back to my pixel painter. So, and then I'm going to just add in a cute little butterfly shape. And when I was preparing this class, I tried to do it on the 30 by 30 and it just looked like two little squares. So you can do more with a higher resolution canvas, but they just have a completely different look. And then I'll add like his body, his head maybe, and like a couple. Here's where you can get in and go pixel by pixel. And you can do it with this brush. And I also have a 1 pixel stamp, which if you really want to make sure you're only adding 1 pixel at a time, that's a good brush to use. So I'm just adding like a little antenna like that. And maybe I'll even get like an orange and add, maybe. So if you use the pixel stamp and you draw, it'll make kind of like this weird little dotted line because it's meant to be used as a stamp, but it actually looks kind of cool. So maybe I'll just do that. It looks kind of like weird irregular dots. So I've added a cute little butterfly. I can add like a foreground now if I want. So I'm going to create another layer for that above everything else. I'm going to get like a lighter green, maybe warmer, something like that. I'm going to go back to my pixel painter. And I'm just going to kind of add some little grass around the front. I'm going to actually make the whole bottom part of it green, and I can fill that in like that. And maybe I can add some more grass here. So I'm kind of just like drawing in little some little grass to make it interesting where the mushroom is. But it's looking a little flat. So I want to add some shading, or not shading, but texture. And that's where this is like my favorite brush in the whole set, the DigiPixel shader. So it's the second brush in the set. It's called DigiPixel shader, and it's super awesome for adding both shading and texture to your pixel artwork. So I'm going to select that brush. I'm going to go to the layer with the grass, and I'm going to turn on alpha lock because I just want to add texture to the shape I've already made. So again, swipe to the right with 2 fingers, and I'll choose like a little bit darker green. And you can adjust the size. This is a brush you definitely want to adjust the size because you get different effects based on how big it is. So I'm kind of like below halfway with that. Maybe I'll go a little bigger. And I'm just kind of like lightly, very, very lightly, just kind of drawing over the whole thing. And the darker or the heavier you draw, the more opaque it's going to be. So there's how I can just quickly add some cool, like digitized. So this looks very Minecrafty to me. So all you Minecraft people, that definitely is very Minecrafty. So you can add that kind of cool texture to it. And I can even go and add something to the background. So I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to put it behind everything else. And then I'm going to choose a green that's maybe, do I want to go darker? Maybe a middle green. So something in between these two. And I'll go a little bigger with the brush size. And I can just add a little bit of texture to the background like that, just for a little bit of interest. And there we go. I think I'm done with that. Maybe I'll go over here a little bit more, make it go up. So yeah, so there's my little mushroom drawing, and I'll show you the difference again if you want to. I'll go back to that first mushroom and you can see like I could probably add like a foreground maybe, but it's you know it's much less detailed, and this has its own special look, and I love that about it. If you want to see what it looks like without the grid lines on it, you can just turn off your drawing guide. So you just go to Actions, Canvas, turn off the drawing guide, and then you can get a nice preview of what it looks like. And I will show you guys at the end how to export it and make it bigger so that you can share it on the web, because it's right now is really, really tiny. I'm just gonna leave the drawing guide on. So those are the differences between the two different sizes, like in the kind of the qualities of artwork that you can get. So now I'm gonna move on to like kind of a bigger, more detailed drawing. Well, not bigger, but more detailed drawing. And I'm gonna show you guys some more stuff with like clipping masks and layers and things like that. But before we keep going, I just wanna check in, make sure anybody had any questions about what we've done so far. Any questions, Jeff?
You've been kind of answering them as you go, which is amazing. And I just had the most recent one is about how we are going to show you guys how to upscale these at the very end.
Yeah, at the very end, we'll go over how to export them and make them bigger. And I've got a couple different ways that you can do that. Okay, so we're gonna draw and we're gonna...
Actually, someone was just asking, and I apologize to stop you, Lisa.
Okay.
How did you do the background shading again? So for the grass?
So for that, I just made a layer behind everything else. I chose a green that was a little bit lighter than my background color. And then I used the Digi Pixel shader. And you can kind of play around with the size of the brush and you'll get different effects. Like if you were to go really big with this, the brush is actually shaped like a star and it makes this cool effect. If you were to go really big, you could actually just like stamp a star kind of shape. But if you go much smaller, it's gonna look like that. So play around with the brush size and you'll kind of get some fun effects with that brush. It's really a fun brush and you get this cool like digital effect. So that's how I did that. Any more questions?
Someone's just asking, can you add the Digi texture to the background of the 30 by 30?
You know what? I haven't tried it really, but oops. Good question. Let's find out. So I'm gonna select this color. I'm gonna go a bit lighter. We'll see how it looks here. Oops, might need to go bigger. Maybe a little bit. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. That's why it's not working. I need to create a new layer behind this. There we go. And yeah, look at that. So if you just wanted to add like a fun texture so it's not just like flat, you could do that. And it's like that scary guy from Minecraft. Forgot his name. We photographed a Minecraft wedding several years ago. Jeff and I are also wedding photographers. So that's where most of my knowledge of Minecraft comes from. It was really awesome though, the wedding that they did. It was amazing.
Someone was asking, will interpolation stay on the nearest neighbor for all subsequent canvases until we change it back manually? Yeah,
it will. So that's why I wanted you guys to have that knowledge of like what normal is. Which should be the bilinear mode. But, you know, you can experiment and see, you know, it's always as an artist, you want to try the different modes and see how they affect your artwork. So make sure you pick the best one and it does the thing that you want it to do and do some research about that as well. Okay, we're ready to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to create another canvas now. So I'm going to go back to my Files app. We're going to do the 100 by 100 pixel canvas again. The other one that I include is the 100 by 80. And so that's just more of a rectangular, version of that. So we're going to do 100 by 100 though. So just tap it. It will import to Procreate. And now we're ready to go. Okay, so we're going to start by changing the background color. So I'm going to go to my layers, go to background color. And for this one, I'm going to do like a light beigey gray, kind of like something like that, if you guys want to follow along. So it's a very light, not too saturated beigey color. And then the color I'm going to use, I'm going to be drawing a mug, you guys. I was trying to figure out what to draw for this tutorial and I found this picture on Pinterest of a mug and I thought it was really cute. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to choose like kind of an avocado color. So like green, yellowish green, but darker. And then I want to make sure I'm using my pixel painter brush for this. So I'm choosing pixel painter. And then for the mug, I always draw a mug like as a cylinder. So I'm going to draw like a kind of like a round oval-y shape. I can fill that in. And then a couple lines down. And of course you can do whatever color you want, but I'll show you what I'm doing. Make it a little stubbier than that. Okay, I'll erase that. And then I'll fill in my shape. And now I can start to like really refine it. I'm using the same brush as an eraser tool. Just kind of get the pixels exactly where I want them to go. All right, so I have this like kind of cylindrical shape. A little more. All right, cool. And then I want to also add like a mug handle. So I'm going to add that over here. Draw a line like that. Draw another line, make it a little thicker. And then I can fill that in with color drop. Kind of fill in any spots that were missed. And so I've got my little stubby mug shape like that. Now, obviously it doesn't look entirely like a mug. We need to add some shading and different things like that. So the first thing we want to do is define the opening of the mug. I'm gonna adjust, it's a little too tall. There we go. Define the opening of the mug. So for that, I'm gonna use a new layer and I'm gonna set it to be a clipping mask. So I'm gonna create a new layer by tapping the little plus sign. I'm gonna swipe to the right with 2 fingers. Oh, sorry, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. Take that back. I'm gonna create a new layer. I'm gonna tap it, and then I'm gonna set it to clipping mask. There we go. I wanna make sure that alpha lock is not on right now. That's what I almost did. So set that to be a clipping mask. And then I'm gonna choose a darker gray or green than what I've been using. Kind of like that, so. And then I'm going to just kind of define the other side of this oval like that. And I can make sure the shape is closed so that I can use color drop to just drop that in. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like a mug and not like a weird shape. So now I'm gonna add like a motif or like a design to the front of my mug. I'm gonna be adding these cute little daisies. You of course can draw whatever you want on your mug, but you can follow along with me if you wanna do that. So for that, I'm gonna be adding another clipping mask. I'm gonna be putting it on a separate layer. So if I create, and I'm gonna put it in between these 2 layers. So I'm gonna tap the mug, like the mug shape. I'm gonna tap the plus sign. And because this new layer is in between those 2 layers, it's automatically clipped because this wants to be clipped to that. So if you add another layer, this has to be clipped too because it's gonna retain all that clipping. So now I have 2 layers clipped to the same shape. So that's kind of what I was getting to when somebody asked that earlier.
And by the way, which canvas size are you on right now?
We're on the 100 by 100 pixel canvas. And now I'm gonna choose like a nice yellow. So that's the yellow that I'm choosing. And I'm gonna draw 2 daisies. One kind of over here, like that. So I'll draw the center of the daisy and then one maybe over there. And then I'm gonna actually move them down just a hair. So I'm using the transform tool. Again, it does need to be set to nearest neighbor in order for it to retain that sharp pixel quality and not get blurred or distorted. So interpolation needs to be set to nearest neighbor if you're doing transformations. And then I'm gonna get white and I'm just gonna draw in some petal shapes like this. And they are going over into the mug handle, which I don't want, but I'll fix that in a minute. And then fill them in and kind of plump them up. So I'm just kind of making my petals nicer, kind of making them fatter, getting them to be the shape and size that I want them to be just by adding more pixels. Any questions while I'm drawing petals?
We kind of talked about it a little bit. What's the difference between clipping mask and alpha lock again?
So clipping mask puts whatever both of them confine what you're drawing to the shape of something else, to another layer or to a shape. Clipping mask makes sure you can have that be on another layer so you can manipulate it, which I'm about to do in a second. Alpha lock is on the same layer, so you don't have as much control over manipulation as you would if you used a clipping mask. I try to use clipping mask as much as I can. It does add to your layer count, but you can always merge things down if you run out of layers. I have a really great tutorial about masks, which you can find on my YouTube channel or at bardotbrush.com/tutorials, about layer mask, clipping mask, and alpha lock, which has really helped explain them a lot better than I can in like 2 seconds. So because I'm on a clipping mask for these daisies, I can just get my eraser and erase part of them away really easily, which is what I plan to do. I couldn't have done that if I was just on this layer. I would have had to like paint over them with green. So now I'm gonna add more petals to this side, kind of like they each have like 6 petals. Fill them in, plump them up a bit, get them to look exactly what I want them to look like. Any other questions while I'm coloring these in? Maybe not.
What's the size? And people are someone's asking about the size of your brush. So which brush are you on?
I am using the Pixel Painter, and I have it all the way down. So if I have it all the way down, it's gonna be 1 pixel big, like in width. Oops. And if you draw on that, it's hard to see my grid lines right now, but if you draw, like if you hit between the grid lines, sometimes it'll hit 2 pixels at once. So that's why that might be happening. So that's why it's good to have these they're kind of hard to see on the screen, but that's why it's good to have these grid lines so you can make sure you're hitting it within the pixels and not like between 2 pixels, and then it's like harder to control. And if you make this brush bigger, of course you'll get, a bigger brush.
Someone's asking, do you have a technique when you're choosing the colors that you're doing?
That's a hard question to ask. Like, color is such a huge part of my life, and I don't know. Maybe subconsciously, but not like a conscious way that I'm choosing colors. So sorry, I don't have a better answer for that.
Well, it's years of just color being such an important part of what we do when it comes to all of the different forms of art that we have been involved in together even. It's all about color and how color relates. So
I play around with color a lot in so many aspects of my life, not just like in artwork, other forms of creativity as well. But like in what I wear and what I put in my home, and like when I'm out absorbing art in the world, and like I've just taken this all in and playing around. Like I have color schemes now that I just like adore. You'll find my house is full of aqua and teal. You'll see it all over my house because I just love those 2 colors together. I use them a lot in my work, but it just comes with experience, I think. So no, I love, greens and yellows together. This is kind of like, to me, feels like a retro kind of, like that avocado green. So that's kind of what I'm feeling here. But okay, so I've got my flowers done, and now I'm going to get to work on adding some shading. So to do that, I am going to create another layer right above the flowers. And we're going to use that method where we use gray plus that layer set to multiply to darken all the layers underneath it. So all my shading is going to be clipped to this mug shape, which is great. That's what I want. I'm going to set the layers blend mode to multiply. So I'm tapping the N and going over to multiply. And then I'm just gonna get like a gray, like that. And the brush I'm gonna use for shading this time is the DigiPixel shader. And I think we just lost Instagram, so let me get that going back. One moment, please.
Just barely losing him.
What am I doing? Doing it wrong, okay. All right, Instagram's coming back. Thank you everybody else for waiting, and Instagram is back now. So if you're just coming back on Instagram, I'm about to do the shading. I just created a new layer, and I set that layer to multiply, and it's also set to be a clipping mask. So all 3 of these are clipping masks, and they're all clipped to this mug layer. And the brush I'm going to use for my shading right now is the Digi Pixel Shader. And my color is kind of like a light gray, like that. So now, you can play around with the brush size and see exactly how you want it to look. This gray might be a little too light. It's kind of hard to see. So I'm going to choose an even darker gray, maybe like that. There we go. And the lighter I press, the more transparent. I keep mixing up the words opaque and transparent. So if you've heard that from me, I'm sorry. Opaque is when things, you can't see through them. They're not transparent. Transparent is obviously transparent. So, and the harder I press, the more filled in that texture is going to be. So I'll do a little bit over here as well.
And you're on the Digi Shader right now?
I'm on the Digi Pixel Shader. And then I'm going to get an even darker gray. So go a little darker. And closer to the edges, I want it to be even darker because it makes more of a graduated shadow like a mug would have because it's round. And then maybe I'll go even a little bit darker than that, kind of right near the edges. And so you can see that because I'm using this multiply blend mode, it's darkening the green mug, it's darkening the flowers as well. So the whole thing looks like it's one thing because it's dark. Basically, if it's something set to multiply, it makes that layer transparent and darkens whatever is underneath, like any layers that are underneath it. So that's how that works. And then maybe I'll go a little smaller here and add a little bit of shading to my handle, kind of like at the bottom there, maybe right there as well. So I just put a little bit of dark gray kind of under the edges of the handle. So my handle has a little bit of shading too. And then the other thing which I wanted to add to this mug, which the mug that I saw in the picture had like a cool little like foot, or that part of the ceramics, like this, but you can't see, but that part. So I'm gonna add that as well. So I'm gonna create a layer and I'm gonna put it below everything else. And as soon as I move, so if you notice, I created that layer, it's automatically clipped, which I don't need at this point. But if I move it underneath that, the clipping goes away because you can only clip to something that's below you. So this is above my layer I'm using now, it won't clip. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what happened. I'm gonna go back to my pixel painter brush so I can draw a new shape. I'm gonna select this green, so the main cup green, and then I'm just gonna, since it's underneath everything, I know it's gonna be darker, so I'll just start with a dark color to begin with. So I'm getting a darker green, and then I'm just gonna add like the little foot part of the cup, the mug. So something like that. I'll fill that in, get rid of that one little pixel that popped up. Maybe make it a little thinner. Well, maybe not. Kind of play around with with shape, and like if I remove this one pixel, it'll make it look a little bit rounder, and like little things like that you can play around with. And then I'm gonna add shading to this as well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to draw in a little bit more. And I don't need to use the multiply blend mode to do this because this is all one color. I can just choose darker and darker greens to add shading to this, kind of like we did with the mushroom. So I'm gonna get an even darker green. I'm gonna get my Digi Pixel shader again. And I'm also gonna turn on alpha lock on that layer. Whoops, there we go. So I swipe to the right with 2 fingers. So now I'm just adding shading to that shape. And that shape is not gonna change once I start painting more in. And so I'm just gonna add a little bit of shading here, maybe like right under the cup, maybe a little darker even near the edges. So now it looks a little bit like it's underneath and it's in shadow. All right, so I think we're ready to move on to the next part, which is dealing with the top of the mug. We need something in it, a couple other things. Do we have any questions before we keep going?
How do you make the transitions between the lighter shadows to the darker shadows less noticeable?
Play around with how heavy you're using pressure, because if you do it really soft, just start off really soft and then get darker. And the softer you do it, the more soft that transition is going to be. So it kind of comes with like playing around and understanding like how much pressure you need. But if you wanted to, I don't know, you could try erasing it and starting over, or yeah, you just kind of have to play around with the pressure a little bit. But this is a pressure sensitive brush, this DigiPixel shader. So, okay, so I'm gonna add a drink to my cup, like something, I don't know, coffee or tea colored. So to do that, I am going to, I want it to match this shape, like of this here. So let's see, how did I do that before? I think what I'm gonna do is remove this as a clipping mask. So I'm gonna show you a little trick here, because what I wanna do is I wanna have a shape that's the same as this green layer, but right now, since it's clipped to this, it kind of like, if you were to unclip it, it actually extends past that, but you don't see it because it's clipped. So what I can do is select my mug layer, just tap it and hit select. And now if I invert this selection, so it's down here in the toolbar, invert, and then clear this layer, there we go. Now I have a shape that isn't clipped, but it's the right shape. I hope that makes sense, because I want to clip something to this layer, and you can't clip a layer to a layer that's already clipped to something else. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit confusing, but that's why I did that. Basically, I'm kind of like making the mask permanent. So what I want to do now is first add some shading to this green layer. For that, I'm going to turn on Alpha Lock, because I'm just going to add like a darker green. I'm not getting to the clipping mask yet. So I'm selecting that green and getting like a darker green, getting my DigiPixel shader, maybe I'll make it a little bigger. And I'm very light right now, really, really light. And that's gonna make it have like more inconsistencies in the color, and the heavier press down, it's not only gonna get darker, but it's gonna get like more filled in with that dark color. So that's what I was talking about, like with the pressure. So if you start out really light and then kind of go darker and more pressure, you get darker. So now I have some shading within the mug. Now I'm gonna add my drink. So I'm creating a new layer now, and then I'm gonna clip this layer to that green, inside of the mug shape. So I tap on it and I tap clipping mask. So that's why I kind of like manipulated it in that way, is to do that. So I'm gonna grab, I don't know, like a brown, I guess, like that. I'm gonna go back to my pixel painter brush. That's the one that I use to draw the shapes. And then I'm just gonna add my drink. There we go. And now, let's see, make it a little bit more. There we go. And now I need to add a little bit of, there we go. I want to add some texture to that brown. So I'm going to turn on Alpha Lock on that. This is like Alpha Lock clipping mask. You can use them in all kinds of different ways. I'm going to get a darker brown and my DigiPixel shader just to kind of make it look a little less flat, like that. There we go. Maybe a little darker over here. So it just has like a little bit of pixely texture to that. And then the last thing I want to add to give my mug some more definition is like a rim around the top. So I'll create a new layer that's not clipped to anything else. I'm going to choose my green, and then I'm just going to go lighter now, because the rim will be lighter because that's where the light hits first. So I'm choosing the pixel painter brush, and then I'm just going to basically draw an outline around this whole area here. Kind of fill it in as thick as I want it to be. The thicker you make it, the thicker your mug will seem. And there. So now we've got some nice like definition. It looks a little bit 3D, and we got some cool shading going on. But there is one more thing which I want to add, which is some nice like steam going on. And this is going to be important because I'm going to show you right now how you can alter the size of your canvas. So right now, if I were to add some steam, I want it to be nice and tall. There's not really enough room on my canvas to do that. And I don't really want to shrink this down any, because that'll affect the way that the pixels are rendered, it'll get like less detailed. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna extend my canvas. So I'm gonna go to the Actions menu. I'm gonna go to Crop and Resize, which is under Canvas. So it's the second option, Crop and Resize. And now I can just go up here and add some more space, like that, and extend my canvas up. And this way I'm maintaining the same like resolution and everything like that. I'm not affecting any of the other pixels, but I'm giving myself a little bit more space. So that's how you do that. Any questions about that before I move on, or any of the stuff that we've just talked about? Any questions, Jeff?
Oh, someone was just saying something went wrong adding the drink. It overlapped their mug.
You might not have your clipping mask set up right. I'll show you what my layers look like in just a sec. And then when you're done adjusting, I could also make it bigger this way. If I wanted to add more room, I could do that and just hit done. And then your grid is still good to go. Your pixels are all in the right place. It doesn't affect your drawing at all. So it just gives you some more space to work with. So these are my layers. I'll just go over them real quick for anybody that is following along. I've got the foot down here, the mug shape, and then clipped to the mug shape is the daisies and the shading on the side. And then I have this shape, which is this for the inside of the mug. Clipped to that is the drink. And then above everything else is this rim, this light green rim. So that's how I have my layers set up. And definitely go back and watch this again if you're kind of missing things. I'm trying to go at a good pace for you guys. Okay, so now I want to add my steam. And the brush that I'm going to use is the Digi Pixel Shader. This actually works really good for like a soft, like cool steamy look. So I'm going to create a layer above everything else. I'm going to set that layer to multiply, because I want the steam to be a little transparent and kind of like darken whatever's in front of it. And then I'm gonna choose a gray. I don't know exactly how dark I want it, so I'll start with like a middle gray. And again, the brush I'm using is Digi Pixel Shader. And so I'm gonna start with kind of a heavy pressure at the bottom and go lighter up to the top, and that'll make it look like it's fading out and getting softer. So like that. Little light pressure at the top, something like that. I'm gonna try a little bit smaller, see what that would look like. You can experiment with the brush size. I kind of like this little bit smaller brush size, just a tiny bit. Maybe like that, maybe that one a little taller. So you kind of play around and see what you want your steam to look like. I think that looks pretty good. So as you can see, since I set this layers blend mode to multiply, this is what it would normally look like, which doesn't steam is see-through, so you would see through it. I could also set it to screen, and that would like lighten it, which that kind of looks interesting too, but I kind of like it the way that it looks when it's darker. So I'm gonna set it to multiply, and that darkens. And then the only other thing that I need to do is kind of erase where these where it overlaps the front of the mug, because the steam would be behind that part. So I'm just going to erase that part away. So I'm using the Pixel Painter as my eraser, and just going in and erasing that away. And it's really easy to control with pixel art. You know exactly where your eraser is going to go in exactly the right spot. So it's not too bad to kind of just erase that all away. There we go. So there is my finished mug drawing. I'm all done. Got my steam, got my shading, got my drink, the rim, and I'm pretty happy with that. So the next thing I will show you is how to get these out of being so low resolution, get them into something more high resolution so that you can share them on the web or print them out or whatever you want to do. But first I just want to check in and make sure we had any questions before I move on to that part.
So I was just saying, how did you come up with the idea of this pixel pack? It's actually been asked a couple times. I saw it on YouTube and Instagram now.
When I made that article about all the different art sets, I thought that pixel art could be something fun to explore. And then I just started playing around with it. And I'm really knowledgeable about brush making. So I knew that I needed like a special brush that was only like 1 pixel wide. So I just started playing around with brushes. And then once I like figured that out, I started making the pixel art. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So just like playing, like getting the idea, playing and experimenting. And that's kind of what most of everything that I create, like brush wise and art wise, is just like, let me try this. And then I try it. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what creativity is all about, is just trying things. They don't always work out. Sometimes they do. And you get that feeling of like, oh, wow, like, oh my gosh, I made that. And it was so awesome and fun. And like, that's what I live for, honestly. That feeling of like, look at this thing I made. And you were so proud of yourself. That's like what I want to like pass on to other people. Just that feeling of like, you created this, like, that is awesome. So, yeah. All right, so I'm ready to move on to exporting. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so if I were to just export this and share it, it would be like itty bitty, super duper tiny. And it wouldn't look good anywhere. So so it has to be upscaled in order for it to be able to even be visible in most places. Because right now this is literally 100 pixel, well, I made it bigger, but it's 100 pixel across canvas. So it would be like this tiny. So you have to upscale it. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. And one of them I detailed in the user guide, which I'll show you right now. So if you're finished with your artwork and you're not going to be needing to make any changes to it afterwards, like after you upscale it, this is a good way to do it. So you go to the actions menu, which is the wrench icon, and you go to share. And then you go to PNG, and that's really important. If you share it as a JPEG, JPEG does apply some compression, which in high-res art you don't really notice as much, but with this small of artwork, you would notice it immensely, and maybe I'll show you what that looks like. So you choose PNG. So again, that was, here, I canceled it. Actions menu, share, PNG. PNG doesn't compress, so that's why we're using that. And then just hit save image. Easy. Now we're gonna create a new canvas. So we go over to our gallery. And actually, I'll come back to that. And so I'm going to create a new canvas at whatever size I want it to be, like as big of resolution as I want it to be at this point. So I'm just going to pick something random right now. I'm going to choose, I have like this is really big. It's probably bigger than you need it to share it to the web, but let's see, a 5x7, 5,000 pixels by 7,000 pixels. That's a really big canvas, but I'm just going to choose it because it's like a horizontal orientation. And then you go to the wrench, you go to, which is the actions menu, add, insert a photo. That'll take you to your camera roll and you can choose the piece that you just exported. And of course it's itty bitty, super duper tiny, because that's how big it actually is in reality, is really, really small. Before we do anything though, we have to make sure our interpolation mode is set to nearest neighbor or this won't work. So make sure that it's the second one to the end, interpolation is set to nearest neighbor. And then once you've done that, you can just hit fit to screen and that'll make the edges match the edges of your screen. And it's gonna look blurry at first, but don't freak out. Just tap to get out of the transform mode and it's perfect again. And now like I can zoom way in, like, yeah, it's really high resolution, but it still looks like pixel art. And it wasn't exactly the same size as this canvas, so I can just go into the canvas, crop and resize, and just like, crop out that extra information I don't need, like that. And there I have like a 5,000 by 7,000 or so pixel canvas that I could blow up into like a big piece of wall art if I wanted to. It will still look pixelized, but it will have nice sharp edges along all these edges and stuff. So that's one way to do it. Any questions about that before I show you the second way? Any questions at all?
Someone's just asking, can I get this video at any time? This
Yep.
video will always be available on YouTube.
Yep, it will be available on YouTube.
And then someone on Instagram was saying, hey, people's comments cover part of the YouTube, part of the tutorial. For Instagram, you guys, absolutely. But join us on either Facebook or YouTube and you won't have that problem.
Yeah, YouTube's really the best. I mean, we want to be available on Instagram as well, but YouTube is probably the best place to watch.
And then someone was asking if you could do which transform you used again.
Yeah, so if you're going to transform your pixel art, make sure it's set to nearest neighbor for both upscaling your art, which I just showed you, or transforming your pixel art. Okay, so I'm going to show you the second method now. And this one's not included in the user guide. Maybe I'll add it, but it's easier to show it in video, I think. So basically, I'm going to just upscale this. So before I do that, I want to duplicate it because I want to have my original pixel art that's set to 100 pixels, just in case I need to go back and like edit it that way. So I'm just going to swipe. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just going to swipe to the left and hit duplicate. And now I have another copy. This one can stay as it is. And then I'll open that up. So this method is great if you want to retain all of your layers and you want to manipulate this after the fact. So if you want to add something different, something high res in the background, or whatever it is you want to do, this will retain all your layers and make them still being able to manipulate, although it will be in high res. So to do this, we're going to go to the Actions menu, Canvas, Crop and Resize. And very important here, you want to make sure you lock the ratio. So this little link icon will lock the ratio that you've got. And then you can type in how big you want it to be. So if I wanted to make it 3,000 pixels across, 3,000 pixels across, and it'll calculate the other side, so it's like the same ratio. Ooh, you can see how small it is. That's how small it is normally. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And if you zoom all the way out, sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of this. I totally messed up now. Hold on. Give me a sec. We'll do that again so you get to see it again. Tap the link icon, so that'll lock the ratio. I'll tap in the size I want it to be, 3,000. And it's really small on there. I don't want to mess it up again. But just hit done, because you'll see it. There it is. That's how big it really is on a 3,000 pixel canvas, which isn't even like a super high resolution. It's nice and high resolution. And you notice the whole thing turned blue, and that freaked me out at first. I'm like, what's going on? It's because the drawing guide is on. If I turn that off, it's showing all those little lines right now. So if I zoom way in, there we go. It's like a 1 pixel grid right now, which makes the whole thing blue. So make sure to turn that off. There we go. And now we just need to upscale everything else and make it bigger. So I'm just going to select all the layers by swiping to the right. And then I'm going to choose transform. I'm going to make sure that nearest neighbor is my interpolation mode. That's really important when you're working with the pixel art. And then this is a lot easier if you choose uniform and you have magnetics turned on. It's going to make it a lot easier to make it bigger. So then I just need to grab like the corner pixel and drag it as far over as I want it to be. It will look blurry, but just get out of that mode, and there you go. I think I went a little too far over here, so maybe I'll do that one more time. There we go. And I can move it around, put it exactly where I want it to be, and then hit done. And now it's a high resolution artwork, and I have all my layers selected. So you can manipulate it in other ways if you want, but that's a great way to upscale it without like flattening your artwork. So I can still work on it if I want to. And the last thing I wanted to show you, unless we have any questions about that specifically.
Someone's just asking about downsizing using nearest neighbor versus just the upscaling.
I explain a little more why you might want to downsize the pixel art. and I'll answer that
You're
question.
just trying to retain. I mean, yeah. The problem is going to be you're not going to be able to retain resolution. I mean, that's
Yeah, if you downscaled pixel art even more, you're going to lose even more information. So, I wanted to show you really quick the difference because I did mention when you export it to do it as a PNG, and I wanted to show you why real quick. So I'm going to share this. This is another way to share from gallery view. Swipe to the left, hit share. I'm going to do it once as a PNG. So this is a really small, my little 30 by 30 pixel art. Save image. And I'm going to do it again. Share as PNG first. Now I'm doing it as a JPEG. Save image. And so now if I start a new canvas, 3000 pixels square, I'm going to add in the photo. So I've got those two. One I did as JPEG and one I did as PNG. Fit to screen. So that's the PNG. Looks great. Now I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add the JPEG. I think that was fit to screen. And that's what a JPEG looks like. So this is what happens when you export your work as a JPEG. It compresses the edges of things. It does kind of funky stuff to digital art. There's technicals behind that, which I'm not going to get into, but it does compress the edges of it. So if you export it as a JPEG and it looks like that, that's why you want to use a PNG. It's going to retain all these nice sharp edges. And maybe you like that. That's a cool effect too. So yeah, you can play around with that, but that's the difference. So I think that's it. So
let's throw up the number real quick.
Yes. So that's it for the tutorial. You can, now that you have it as high resolution, you can export it and share it to the web. You can print it. You can do all that stuff and it's going to look great. So that's it for that. And now I'm going to go back to my slides. We'll start here. So first of all, I would love to see what you've made. If you're creating artwork using this class and you're posting it on the web, I would love to see it. So just be sure to tag #Bardot brush. You can tag Bardot brush or me, Lisa Bardot. So that way I can see all your artwork. I'm really excited to see what kind of like mugs you guys make, because every time we do a class, I'm just so impressed with like the creativity that comes out of you and kind of taking what I teach you and making it your own. So really, really excited to see that. So be sure to tag Bardot brush, #Bardot brush, or me, Lisa Bardot. And so we're going to be, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away a couple of these Apple Pencil decals. They're from dbrand.com. And we're also going to be giving away a couple of my brush sets and a couple of my master bundles, which contain all my brush sets. So if you want to enter for that, text pixel to 55444. Again, that's pixel to 55444. I feel like I sound like an announcer or something. And if you're outside the US, you can try this number here down at the bottom. It doesn't work in all regions, unfortunately. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. You could try also replacing the +1 with a 00. Sometimes that works. But yeah, so go ahead and enter that. This is the last chance before we close the giveaway. I'm going to
close it up in just a second. And what we want to do is while we're waiting, let's make sure that if you guys have any other questions, that we pop those up. So
throw up your questions now. We're going to do a Q&A while Jeff kind of gets the winner selected, and then we'll do the giveaway after the Q&A. So throw up your questions. As soon as I swipe this away, the giveaway entering period will be closed. So last chance to do that. Put in your questions. I hope you guys had fun with the pixel art and you see like how cool it is and easy it is to make something that looks really rad, but with a surprisingly minimal amount of effort. Sometimes it's freeing to really restrict yourself and like have to eliminate details and things like that. So that's something that actually we're going to be exploring later on in the year with Making Art Every Day is creating art, but with restrictions. So that I have planned, I think, for this summer. So look forward to that. We have a lot of really cool stuff planned for Making Art Every Day. So I hope you join because it's a really great way to like improve your skills, try a bunch of different stuff, and help you make art every day. So, all right, are we ready to close that up and move on to Q&A?
We are ready to close that up.
All right, you guys, giveaway is closing. We're going to move on to Q&A while Jeff kind of gets the winners picked out. So if you have any questions, type them in. Jeff's going to shout them out to me, and I will try to answer. It could be about what we did today. It could be about something else. I am here for you. What do we have for questions? He's doing 2 things at once, so
I'm doing
probably way more than
7 things at once. Like, I want to make sure that you guys still aren't crashing our website. And then, of course, I'm still looking at your questions, and I'm running all of these emails through our randomizer. Someone was just asking, how do you get over your fear of sharing work that might be different from what you usually make? I'm irrationally afraid I will lose following if I change things up.
That's a hard one because it is it's a big mind shift. Like, that's what really has to happen. There's not really a magical way that I can say, do this and it won't matter. You kind of have to shift your mindset a bit into, I am doing this for me and not for the internet, not for my followers. And honestly, I can tell you, I felt that way for so long. And I am like a perfectionist, really bad. I've been doing creative things forever, but I would never ever share them unless they were completely finished. If people would look over my shoulder, like physically, or like Jeff would look at what I was working, I'd be like, go away, don't look, it's not done yet, and tell him to go away, because I was so like embarrassed for them to see my process and like think that was what I could do when I knew I was capable of more, or it just wasn't up to par what I thought was, quote unquote good enough. And then I don't know, I just had this like mind shift. I forget what triggered it, but I just decided to just start sharing my behind the scenes process. And I think that is really helpful, because if you can start sharing behind the scenes, that's really unfinished stuff. So that it does take a lot of vulnerability. But it also helps you be a lot less judgmental of yourself. And just being okay. And honestly, people love seeing behind the scenes, and they love seeing the process of an artist and things like that. Like, that's why you guys are here. You want to learn. But that's why I started growing my following, probably, honestly, is because people love seeing behind the scenes. They love to learn. They love seeing into the brains of artists and things like that. So start sharing your behind the scenes. Instagram stories are really great for that, because they only last, 24 hours and then they're gone. That's what helped me a lot, was like, okay, I put this up here and then it's gone. It's not like my portfolio or anything like that. And it's also like really great for you to see, to have a documentation of the process of your work as well. So if you kind of think of it like that, like, I am posting this thing. I know it's maybe not as good as I think that I can be, because we are all our worst critics, trust me. But how cool will it be if I can look back a year from now and see how far I've come? And that is really powerful. So maybe if you can kind of think about it like that, like, how cool is it going to be if I can look back and see how far I've come? And you keep working at it, and you will get there, and you'll get to, a year later, and you will have come that far, and you can look back and see how far you've come. So maybe kind of shifting your mindset a little bit that way will give you a little more courage. But don't worry about people. Do this for you. People can be jerks on the internet, it's true, but I think if you come in with your heart and everything like that, and you make sure, if people are unfollowing you, then you don't want those people anyways. So you want people that are going to support you and care about your work and things like that. So I hope that helps. Long answer. Another question?
Yeah, we just had someone. Where did it go? Sorry, guys. There's so much going on. I have Procreate Pocket on my iPad too, but can't get the brushes to import to Procreate Pocket.
Yeah, they might not work with Procreate Pocket because I made them using Procreate 5's brush engine.
Not all will work. Many of them will still work.
Well, this set in particular, I made using Procreate 5 and the Procreate 5 brush engine. And Procreate Pocket does not have the same brush engine. They're like two different apps. They're not the same. So Procreate Pocket isn't quite up to date, the same as Procreate 5 on iPad would be. So this pixel art set, I haven't tested it, but it probably won't work on Pocket, unfortunately. As well as some of my other brush sets, like I've tried putting gouache paint box on there and it kind of works. Like some of the brushes for Procreate 5 will kind of work in Procreate Pocket, but not the same way. So, it's kind of hit or miss, with Pocket. So sorry about that. Another question?
Yeah, we had, where did it go? Can you make animation with this set?
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that would be super fun. Absolutely. I did an animation class last week, and you can apply those same concepts, but with this low resolution canvas. I am not sure about upscaling it afterwards so that it's visible. I think that's something I'd have to play around with. But I do know that I believe I've seen people that have downloaded the set and made art with it, like make animations with it. So play around with it, totally. Like, I would love to see it. If you make it, like, tag me or send it to me. I want to see it. Now I want to play around with it and see. I bet if you did the method where you use the crop and resize to upscale everything and maintain all your layers after you make your animation, that would probably work. So try that out. And maybe that's a future class. That would be really fun to explore. You could make like a little Mario video game kind of thing.
Someone was asking, how do you make your brushes? And I know this is a question that we've gotten asked a lot.
Yeah, people ask me that.
Can you make a tutorial on how to make brushes?
If I did, it would be it's a difficult topic to cover because there is so much to the Procreate Brush Studio and the different settings and what exactly they do. And like a lot of what I've learned is just through experimentation and like researching the Procreate user manual, which I highly recommend. If you want to learn more about the Brush Studio, check out the Procreate artist manual on their support website, and it goes through and tells you what everything does. I do want to I have plans to do some like simpler brush creation tutorials, which kind of are a little bit more simple. So be on the lookout for that in the future, but like, I don't know if I want to do like an intense brush creation class. It would be a lot.
Why is there such a crazy relation from like how are we taking a real world texture and then putting it into this digital world? So
yeah, it's not just understanding the settings, but also like all of my brushes, I like paint things or scan in textures and things like that. So there's like that aspect of it too. And like a lot of what I do, like I want to inspire people to create art. So I try to stick to that like end of the spectrum and like teaching you how to create things and stuff. And I do tutorials sometimes that use the built-in brushes, so you don't have to have my brushes, but yeah. So
how do you always come up with things to draw?
Pinterest, honestly, like Pinterest and I get a lot of inspiration from other people's work. Like I've mentioned this before, but like people and things people make really inspire me. And like color really inspires me. So I keep a notebook on my Evernote, which is an app for note taking called Things to Art. And I just like whenever I think of something, I write it down. But like I'm just inspired by certain things. Like, the mug was like a cute little kitschy design with like a happy little daisy on it. And I'm like, that's cute. I want to draw that. But like colors, animals, food, that's kind of like my go-to subject matter. So, yeah.
So I was asking, do you have any tips for beginners that struggle with free time to spend hours on this stuff?
That's a toughie because, time is a hard thing to find sometimes. For me, when I was just learning Procreate, I decided to, first of all, commit to drawing something every day. And I think when you do that, it makes it just like a thing that you do every day. And it's not just like, oh, if I find the time, I'll draw. Like, no, like this is a part of my self-care, just like me brushing my teeth or taking a shower. Like I draw, like that's my drawing time and it's sacred. which is still like, I mean, that's a lot to ask of a person too, especially with like all kinds of craziness going on. But just like finding a good time, good consistent time that works for you. For me, I have kids. So it was like after the kids went to bed, we'd normally like sit down in the living room finally. And I just sit on the couch and draw on my iPad. And that's why I loved the iPad, because I didn't have to get out paints and paper and and like sit down at the table and do all that. I could just sit on my lap cross-legged and draw on my iPad. So finding little pockets of time, even if it's like a 15-20 minute drawing session to just get something out, you will learn from that amount of time too, as long as you keep doing it consistently. So I hope that helps answer your question.
And we've got tons of other questions, and I want to be able to keep getting to them, but we do want to announce the giveaway.
Okay, we're going to do the giveaway. Giveaway time. Yay.
Well, someone was just saying that I stay up till 2 a.m. each night just to have time to create.
You know what?
I feel okay.
Sleep is important, but I feel you. Like, I can't do it as much anymore because I just like will die. But I was that person for sure. I would just stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning working on something, because at night, everything else is quiet and there's no distractions and nobody's going to bother you. And it just is so freeing to me. I am definitely more of a night creator for sure.
And if all you do is take 15 minutes and you're not completing something, but you're working towards a goal, like that's a start, like finding 15 minutes for yourself. So, we love that there's so many people out there just trying to find this space to be creative.
Yeah,
for themselves.
it's hard right now. I mean, I know we're all home, hopefully. So we have a little bit more time for things like this, but we are home and there's home things to deal with, and children, and working from home, and like there's also more stuff. So there's less of a certain type of thing, which is like appointments and get-togethers and things like that. But then there's more of other things, which is like take care of your house and your kids that are home from school and like all that stuff. So I totally get it. It's definitely a shift. But as we're like going through this shift and we're kind of in it for a while, it seems like, work that in. Just make like major life changes are a great time to sneak in little new things that you can maybe make a new habit. So give it a try.
All right, so we got our first winner.
Okay, so the first thing we're giving away is the Apple Pencil decal from D Brand. It's this cool sticker I have on my Apple Pencil that makes it look like a number 2 pencil. I have 2 of those to give away. We will mail you them in a cute little thing. If you're a past winner, these are coming. Don't worry, they are coming. You haven't received it yet, but you will. So let's do our 2 winners. For those, we're just going to call out like the first part of your email address, and then we will also email you as well to let you know.
Right, so our first winner from our random drawing is Sarah Pennapacker.
Sarah Pennapacker, congratulations. You have won Apple Pencil decal. We have them for both Apple Pencil 1 and 2, so we'll email you and ask you which Apple Pencil you have. So you make sure you get the right one. So congrats.
Next up, our next winner for the sticker is Davis Mary Kay.
Davis Mary Kay, congratulations. You've won an Apple Pencil decal from D Brand. We will be contacting you with info to get your address to send you those out. I didn't mention this before, but if you are international, unfortunately we're not mailing these internationally right now. But we will make sure you get something awesome if you are not in the United States. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next thing, which is a brush set of your choice from my website, Bardot Brush. These are all the different sets that I have. So we're going to pick 2 winners to give away whichever set you would like to have. So let's go ahead and do that.
We have Vi Panda.
Vi Panda, congratulations. We'll contact you about choosing a brush set that you can have from my site. And then one more.
And we have Haben and a bunch of numbers.
Haben and a bunch of numbers. Congratulations. We'll be contacting you about picking out a brush set from my site. And then the big giveaway is the Master Bundle, which is all of these sets. So we're going to pick 2 winners to give away the Master Bundles to, and you're going to get all the different sets that I have on my website. So are we ready?
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da, drum roll.
Addie Lane.
Addie Lane, congratulations. You are the winner of a master bundle. We will be emailing you details about how to get that.
And then next up we have Scott the Pog.
Scott the Pog. I like your email. Congratulations, Scott. I will be emailing you with details about how to get your master bundle.
And by her saying that, she really means it's
Yeah,
me
Jeff's
doing
going to do it.
But
He'll say it's from me. Yeah, Jeff is definitely a big part of the Bardot brush team, like for sure.
Well, thank you guys. We hope you have an amazing weekend.
Yes.
More importantly, we will be back.
Yes, so we will be back again next week for some more live videos. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So we will be doing some fun stuff. We'll probably be exploring some more art styles. I have something really fun in mind for Friday. Maybe I'll give you a peek of what that is. I really want to do, one of the art styles is collage, and I really think it would be fun to do a class on making collage in Procreate. So that's what I think I'm going to do for Friday. So hopefully you guys can join us again next week. Again, I'm Lisa Bardot. My website's Bardot Brush. I make awesome brushes for Procreate and tutorials and all kinds of fun resources. And I also run Making Art Every Day, which is tutorials, motivation, and daily drawing prompts to help you overcome your creative fears and establish a daily art making practice. So I hope you can check that out. I highly recommend joining in if you want to improve your skills, and that's all completely free. So thank you again for joining us, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.